Welcome to a new fragrance review. Today I'm going to tell you how to make your fragrance last longer in its bottle. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to explain this, but fragrance, a lot of people say they have an expiration date on it. A lot of people say that they don't. Now, the question is why some say there is, why some say there aren't. And that's really easy to know, is that fragrance, they get older. First of all, the thing that people say, all fragrance have an expiration date. They're just good for that many time, that long, and it's not quite true. Now, I would challenge you. Go to fragrance store or a store where they sell fragrance, a drugstore, whatever, it doesn't matter. Go on the website, check fresh, and just ask for what is the least popular fragrance, one that they have, like that they sell the less, and take one of the bottle, look it up, and look at the in the box here. Let's say this one don't have anything, but a lot of box of fragrance, like here, they have a little number. That little number, you can write it on check fresh, is that it will tell you when the fragrance was made. And you will find fragrances that are old. Now it's 2023, and earlier this year I've been looking for fragrance. I was looking specifically for the newest batch of Polo by Ralph Lauren. I was being told that the fragrance, there was a new formulation. It was better since I think 2020 or something like that, 2021. Yeah, I think it's 2021. I'm not quite sure. So I wanted to be sure that the batch was that newest batch. What I did is I went to look in the store and I looked at the little bottle because I already have a bottle. So I didn't want to buy a big one. And I looked, the small bottle was actually made in 2019. So I had to buy the bigger one that was made in 2021. And you'll see when you will find old bottle of fragrance and people say, oh, they just last a year, 2 years, 3 years. Well, the bottle you bought might be like a couple years old, and it's not true that fragrance don't last long in the bottle. But at the same time, you have people that have bottles of fragrance that they say it turned bad, it doesn't smell good, doesn't smell anymore. And why is that? The reason it's really simple is that a bottle of fragrance, first of all, the bottle itself will matter, but the fragrance is like a chemical reaction that might change. If you're someone that drink beer, you will probably know that when you have an old beer, a new beer that have sometimes beer would have a weird smell when you open it, and it's the same principle. What happens is that the light will touch the fragrance and it will make the smell change, I don't know exactly what's the process, how scientifically it works. Same for beer, I don't have a clue, we just know that's how it is. There would be other stuff that you can have if it's like in a clear bottle or a clearish bottle. What will happen is the light will affect the fragrance, it will finish to smell different over time. So that's something that you need to think about. In the end, I'm gonna tell you the conclusion, it's really how you store the bottle that really makes a difference, how you care for the bottle. So if you look at a bottle like this one, light is way more dangerous for this bottle. At the opposite, this bottle, well, you can still see through it, so it's a little bit bad. It's still bad, not as bad as the other one. But if you have a bottle like this one's good. You can leave it somewhere. The light shouldn't really affect the fragrance. So first thing to do to have fragrance last for a long time, it's to leave it in a place where there's no light. Some people say that humidity have an effect too. So I wouldn't put it in a place like your washroom or basement, even if it has nothing to do with the inside of the fragrance. Like humidity might be bad, might have fungus and stuff goes on the bottle, and that even in the spray, which will throw it on you, and maybe this could change the smell. It's not such a big deal, but it's still there. Another thing will be the change in temperature. It doesn't say stuff really about the fragrance, how to care for it on the box, but you shouldn't put it in a place where it's too cold, place where it's too hot. It can change the content inside of it. Too hot, it might cause condensation, it can cause like the pressure in the bottle, stuff can change. Too cold, the colder the fragrances, the more chance the liquid separate. Cold, if you can do another scientific experiment at home, if you take olive oil or any random oil you have at home, you put it in a little pot, a little bottle, something, whatever, you put it in the fridge overnight, you'll see that bottle, that oil would be more solid, will be cloudy. Now, fragrance, any bottle of fragrance, there's like some stuff there, but really what a fragrance is two things. It's alcohol and fragrant oil. Fragrant oil might be synthetic, might be natural, it doesn't really matter. It's alcohol and oil. So that same oil that you can put in the fridge that will become cloudy and weird, well, it's inside of the bottle of fragrance you're having. So if you're putting like in the freezer, I know some people put it in the freezer. They say when you have a bottle like this that you cannot see through it, you put it in the freezer, then you remove it, and it's gonna, where there's some frost, it's the level of the fragrance. That's really bad for the fragrance because that, for many reasons, it makes the oil harder to fit in the fragrance. It can separate it. Now the fragrance, it's really a chemical reaction in the end. You can put some ingredient in different order, it will change the smell. So if that fragrance which have some oil and actually some not oil product that smells something, if it's separate and then bond another time differently, the smell of the fragrance will change, or might change actually. So extreme in temperature are not good for the fragrance. Another thing with the fragrance, oxygen would be bad for the fragrance. Like anything oxidizing, it can bind to different molecule, and when you take a fragrance, the more you use it, the more there will be, like if you look this fragrance, you see there's half of the bottle there, there's way more air. That if you look at this one here, so there's more air in the bottle than in this one. That will affect the fragrance. So the more you use a fragrance, the more air there is. And when pick the fragrance, you see, just holding the fragrance in my hand, and it moves like this. Now, this is not so bad, but when you take it, you spray it, you do this, you do that, it shakes the liquid, and it makes, if you hit the bottle like this, it's even worse, but it shakes the liquid, and it makes the oxygen touch more of the fragrance, which will eventually change the smell of the fragrance. Some molecule might evaporate more easily. The more air there is, the more the fragrance that will evaporate in that air. So every time you spray the fragrance, it contributes to the change of the smell of the fragrance. We often hear that those top notes, they disappear in older fragrance, and really what happens is that the molecule, they evaporate within the bottle. The spray is not 100% like leak proof. I mean, when you spray on it, it's spray fragrance. Like I put the fragrance like that, it doesn't drip, but still, I mean, when I spray, so there's air getting in, air getting out. So the more air you have there, the more fragrance will change and smell. So in the end, what you want to do to have your fragrance stay good for a longer time, there is two things that are best practice. The first one is to have a place to store your fragrance that with an average normal room temperature, and like any temperature you're comfortable being in would be a right temperature, and a place where it's dark. I know a lot of people, they take their fragrance box and they put it in the box. That's a great way to do it. The box itself, usually there's like the little cap here, and there's another little thing. I just took a box randomly and it has that little thing there. So it keeps fragrance really a lot in the dark. So that's a good way. It could be a drawer you have somewhere, or some kind of shelf with doors, something that will keep it really in the shadow. It doesn't really matter in the end, as long as in the shadow. That's really all that matter. And something else you can do to help your fragrance stay good for a long time, might be counterintuitive, is that when the fragrance is new, don't use it until you really want to use it. And when the fragrance is not new, is like use it for real. I mean, the more you use it, the more it will change the smell. So the faster you should use it. But if you don't use it, the smell won't change, so you don't have to use it, and you're better not using it. So when there's a lot of fragrance, try not to use it often. If it's starting to be used, well, just go through it. So that's about it for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. If it's the case, like and share. If you have any other tips on how to keep a fragrance good for a longer time, put it in the comment. So thanks for watching and see you soon.